hello. Hey, BME, what's going on, man? Did you make a mistake on the time? Yeah, I see you. What you need? Anyway, hey, listen, I started the show on my regular schedule. Hopefully, everybody will get here. That's fine. I don't know how long this is going to be. Well, happy Monday. I'm on a tight schedule today myself, so I had to get started. Anyway, are you guys tired of talking about politics yet? Or you want to go back to let's talk about the salacious stuff about, black men against black women and, sexual exploits and how much they hate us and how much we loathe them and all that kind of good shit? Or can we talk about the future of the United States and what the young people are going to do with it? Are they going to go down this path of socialism, or somebody's going to be around to pull them back from the abyss? That's one of the things that we got to figure out, because uh, the Queen, New York, is being assaulted, has been assaulted, has fallen. If this was a chessboard, and God took the Queen with a pawn, took the Queen with a pawn, So I got a few things I put together for whatever it's worth. How I see this thing as how this could spread across the United States, and how it's not really going to be good for us because we have all the receipts about what socialism and communism looks like. I mean, and in a country like ours, if we fall into socialism as deep as, say, Venezuela, for example, there's no way out. There's absolutely no way out. In 2014, 13, Venezuela bet everything on their oil production. They didn't have any other means of anything. They just said, hey, the oil is all we needed. Uh, but for some reason, they didn't know how to do it what the Arabs have done based on oil. And then when that fell through, the oil prices fell. The country has fallen. They haven't been right since 2013. And now they got a dictator in charge. That's what they call them, the cartels and things of that nature. But a regime change may change that for them. Okay, and they might be able to have new deals and things to start to put them back on track. There's no such savior for the United States. None. If we fall, we're gonna fall forever because there's nobody bigger than us that can come correct it. Who's gonna correct our ship? You know what I'm saying? Who? Anyway, that's just the way that goes. Let me do this. That's the way that goes. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So, greetings. Welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Ma'am Donnie, and how you guys feel about that. Put it in the chat what y'all think about New York falling to socialism, Marxism. Do you believe in his free everything, free buses, free childcare, uh, rent stabilization in the most expensive city in the world, probably, and how that's going to work when you try to force supply and demand? One of the things he did say is if the landlords don't comply, he's going to uh, seize their property. You know what I'm saying? So it's really some deep thoughts out there. And all of this is in the midst of, you know what? The Democrats had a good Tuesday. They did have a good Tuesday, even though they won those elections in what typically blue states and blue areas within red states. They won a lot, so the optics was good for them. And then it seems like it only lasted 2 days because people are saying they caved on this shutdown that should have never happened. And I hate the language about caved, right? Because it sounds like, we're pushing them back into the tunnel. And really the American people who needed the government to be open actually won. It doesn't matter whether the Democrats lost or the Republicans lost. In optics it does. But the truth is that the American people won, right? And we won because the government should have never been closed in the first place. You know, if anything that should rally American people around is that we should find a way to get the law changed that these assholes in Washington can never close the government again. That's the way it should be. You know, and if they do, they shouldn't be getting paid. They should lose their benefits. They should lose all those kind of things that the average American loses. You know, and that's only makes sense to me because there's no incentive for them to do anything or even govern if there's no punishment for them. You know, so that's besides the point. But I think one of the things in our politics has put us in a place the last 4 years of Biden and the years of Obamaism, all of that stuff has put us in a place where communists could actually win one of the biggest, the most richest, and the most lucrative cities in the United States. But we've seen the weakness of the American electorate across the country when it comes to liberalism. It's, you know, the fact that we even have sanctuary cities is the beginning of the portals for socialism in a lot of areas. And this is where I believe the Republicans should take a hit, because there's absolutely no way that a state should have been able to declare themselves a sanctuary city for illegal aliens. How come they didn't have, you know, their justices, their federal judges put a stay on whether that was constitutional or not? Think about it. How can it be constitutional for a state to say we're going to just let illegal aliens take over our city and we're going to pay for them? We're going to give them housing, medical insurance, SNAP, all of that shit. Isn't that socialism? How did that shit get by? How come the Republicans didn't use warfare like the Democrats are doing by, you know, having federal judges putting injunctions against almost everything Donald Trump does? But they didn't put one against Biden and Kamala Harris for what the sanctuary cities came in and did. I mean, I could see a judge, a federal judge that's right-leaning, saying that shit's unconstitutional. Made that shit go up to the Supreme Court. So, you know, the Republicans are not blameless in the fact that our country is where it's at in terms of unfettered liberalism and all of these damn illegal aliens that, you know, flood our cities and making us change laws and shit like that. So anyway, so I think a lot of that stuff is what gave rise to Mamdani, right? Even when it came to the shutdown, some basic mathematics would tell me that I would blame that on the Democrats, not because I believe the Republicans are blameless. It's because for 15, 16 times, every Republican in the Senate voted to open the government, and the Democrats voted no 16 times. So regardless of what the negotiations were and all of that other bullshit, I'm voting yes to keep the government open, and you're voting no. And so no matter what you say, you can't blame it on the guy who's voting yes. And then you can't say, well, you're not negotiating. Well, you know, extortion is not a negotiation. Extortion is not a negotiation. You know, if you tell me that we're going to make every federal employee and our soldiers and people who are dependent on the government, we're going to hold them hostage until you come and give us what we want. Well, that's not negotiation. You know, that is not negotiation. That's extortion by definition. You know, so it's a good thing that the so-called shutdown is supposedly over, but I don't really believe it until I see it. There's probably going to still be some hiccups somewhere. But before I get started, you know, I'm going to lighten the load. I always do the best I can. You're going to have to bear with me You know, let's go. What you saying, Black America? I don't know if this is the first time you've been here. Does it matter to you why they voted like that? Of course, it matters to me. They're wrong. They could have negotiated whatever they wanted while the government was open. You can't hold people in, you can't extort people to get what you want and think you're honest on it. So whatever their position was or is, they didn't have to shut down the government for it, especially since they didn't do it like 13 times before. So it doesn't make any sense. So that's my position on it. I mean, we got, I understand some of the things with the ACA and the extensions. Believe me or not, it was the Democrats who put the extension deadline in December. The Republicans didn't do that. And then there's a lot of shit with the ACA. I'm not an expert on that, but everybody I know who's on Obamacare says it's too expensive. And then in order to make it affordable, we have to pay all kinds of money to the insurance companies. So they're supposed to lower premiums, and they're not lowering the premiums. They're just taking out money and putting it in their own coffers. And so it was a bad deal to begin with. And the problem with the money that we give the insurance company, there's no goddamn restrictions on it. They don't have to, we're just giving them the cash. It's like we're just giving people cash all over the place without saying, okay, if we give you this is what you have to give back. And it should be codified. And it's not. It's not. The thing about socialized medicine, that I think about socialized medicine, I believe this, because I'm a fat bastard. If we had socialized medicine and the government was paying for it, the government should be able to tell you that you should have certain health requirements that you need to follow, or else you pay extra. And so if you're a fat bastard, you should pay more. If you don't want to do whatever program, whatever your size is, whatever your race is, whatever it is, if somebody wanted a loan, you have restrictions on them. Somebody wanted to buy a car, you have some requirements they have to meet. If you want me to pay your health insurance, well, you can't smoke. You can't drink to excess. You can't do these kind of things. You think Americans will actually do that? Hell no. They're going to want to have people pay their health insurance if it was socialized and let them do what the hell they want. It's like a woman who wants to walk around with her titties out and expect a man not to look. So I mean, some things should just be common sense. So if you want the government to pay for your health care, you got to do some shit to earn that. You should be in some kind of semblance of shape, because that's what keeps the prices down. Especially as you get older. Everybody knows most of the healthcare is spent on old people, keeping us alive. So anyway, so the better you go into older age, the better shape you're in, the better it is for everybody, right? If you're paying for your own health insurance like we are now, people are saying, shit, man, if I let it go, that's on me. But if the government was paying for it, if I was on the board, I'd have a whole list of shit that people would have to do and get checked 2 or 3 times a year to make sure they're on track, or else their insurance premiums will go up individually. So anyway, so that's just my theory on how socialized medicine should work, or anything else that way. You can't get something for nothing. This whole bullshit about the government should just give you money with no strings attached is why we're in the goddamn position we're in right now. So I'm happy that the beginnings of this shutdown is over. And I play with AI a little bit. So before I really get into why I think Mamdani is bad for the country, I was going to play my little tune, and nobody's going to like it but me. But I really don't give a shit. I'm going to play it anyway. Because at that time, we just needed 5 Democrats to act like they love the country. And so I'm going to play what I think should have been played before. So everybody just stay tuned. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to share it, and we're going to get started. Some people might like it, some people might not. We just need five. We just needed 5 Democrats.
In a land where the colors bleed, we search for hearts that truly lead. 5 Democrats, where are they now? Do they have love for America or just a broken vow? Oh, can we find hope in a dream, or has the light lost its gleam? Can we find 5 Democrats who truly care, holding Americans hostage on a dare? In the shadows where kindness falls, let love for America break down these walls. Their voices callous and their cries are loud in a sea of doubt. They stand broken and darkened just by patriotic hearts, build a new front to fight for the love that we all hunt. Is there still fire in their veins, or are they trapped in endless change? Can we find 5 Democrats who truly care, holding Americans hostage on a dare? In the shadows where kindness falls, let love for America break down these walls. Together we shall rise hand in hand to fix what they have broken for the future of our land. In a land where the colors bleed, we search for hearts that truly lead. 5 Democrats, where are they now? Do they have love for America or just a broken vow? Oh, can we find hope in a dream, or has the light lost its gleam? Can we find 5 Democrats who truly care, holding Americans hostage on a dare? In the shadows where kindness falls, let love for America break down these walls. Their voices callous and their cries are loud in a sea of doubt. They stand broken and balking, just 5 patriotic hearts, build a new front to fight for the love that we all hunt. Is there still fire in their veins, or are they trapped in endless chains? Can we find 5 Democrats who truly care, holding Americans hostage on a dare? In the shadows where kindness falls, let love for America break down these walls. Together we shall rise hand in hand to fix what they have broken for the future of our land.
I sent that to all my Democrat friends, I said, hey, listen, I got one for you, Anyway, listen, I'm glad the beginnings of the shutdown is over. I have a hope. I've worked for the government for my whole career, so I know a whole lot of people who was going through it in the last 40 days. I've been through the shutdowns myself several times, so it's no joke not getting paid, especially for some people. So there you go. So where are we at? Well, New York has fallen. Should probably make a thing. I got to give it to Mamdani, because he was excellent. He was excellent. I mean, oratory skills. He was excellent. I mean, the grift was strong with that guy. The whole thing. And the Democrats opened the door for a guy like him to walk in, based on their losing. Well, first, 2 things. One, the first thing is that old farts like me wouldn't let go of power. And I say like me because I'm up there in my 60s. And I think the young people got tired of seeing these old goddamn people up there When the future doesn't belong to the old folks, it belongs to the young folks dictating every goddamn thing for the young people and disrespecting them. And one of the biggest things I think the Democrats and the Republicans did was that, in a job and you're the leader, one of your, I think one of your most important things is to set people up to succeed you. Your succession plan, you know. Yeah, Black America. Yeah, man. You know what? That's AI, man. I put it on blues and I just said, hey, can we find 5 Democrats? And they wrote that song. I might have changed a couple of words here and there, but AI is a mother. Anyway, so I just getting back to the point. I just think that it is time. That's where one thing I agree with AOC. It is time for the young people to get the hell out of the way. I mean, the old people to get the hell out of the way and let the young people begin to get their chops in leadership. Now, the problem is that the Democrats, uh, they lost their way in terms of having the opportunity to mentor some of the young people to be a little bit more, I guess, conservative thinking, even in the middle. So they lost their way to the radical left. And all of the radical left, for the most part, besides Bernie Sanders, of course, are young, young, energetic. Get your 80-year-old ass out of the way so we can lead. And that's going to resonate across the country, both on the Democrats and the Republicans. I mean, you see what my guy, what's the guy, Mitch McConnell? Fucking guy's still in the Senate. Instead of just taking his last few years to sit down. Nancy Pelosi, after this Tuesday, and after what AOC said, because she did say it, I couldn't find a clip. AOC says, it's not just the Republicans we needed to get out of the way. We needed those old farts in the Democratic side and the more conservative Democrats to get the hell out of the way too. And the next day, Nancy Pelosi, she put out that she's going to retire after this term. And she should have been gone 10 years ago. Same with Maxine Waters. Same with all of these guys. I think hopefully Trump is the last president that we have that's over 70 years old. We don't need no presidents, 70 years old anymore. You come in at 45, maybe, energetic, young with some ideas, and still vested in the future, right? Because you probably have kids around, 20 years old, 25 years old, maybe. And you want to see what kind of future they have. And you can't just be some old asshole just thinking you hanging on to power when the future doesn't belong to you anymore. That's the one thing I agree with the young folks. There's just no doubt about that. Like I was on this live one time with a young guy, and he just hates baby boomers, like a whole lot of people do. And I said, well, what do you want the baby boomers to do? And he straight faced said, we want y'all to die. We want y'all to die. I thought it was pretty funny, but but I do agree that that you don't. I always come back to the young people and say, listen, if your life ain't the way you need to be, you got to start. At some point, you got to stop blaming it on your parents and your grandparents, because if you're still alive now and you're kicking, you could correct the things that you think were made wrong, because the future is yours to make those changes. So you can't keep that albatross around your neck. Not if you're looking towards the future. Stop looking in the rear view. No, just you're informed by the past, but the future is yours. So that excuse can only go so far. Anyway, so that's that. So I have some shit about Mamdani I want to talk about, and I don't know, Black America. I don't know if you've been here before. You got a new alias, or you've been here before. I think the link is on there. If you wanted to come up after a while, you could, but you'd have to show yourself on camera. But anyway, so here's what I have. Let me stop sharing this for a second. Let me go to bring up here you go. All right. All right. Yeah, this is just a slideshow. Let me I'll make myself a little bigger. Anyway, Comrade Mamdani, Marxism is a godless cancer, and New York City has been diagnosed. And it's true. This guy makes no bones about it that he's a socialist, but he's more than that. He's actually, to me, he's a communist, but we're gonna go through some of the definitions and stuff like that. And it doesn't matter whether he's a Marxist, socialist, communist. His leanings is more towards that than a capitalist, right? Because his whole thing is about seizing the means of production and redistributing wealth across. And that's appealing to people who are complaining about, I can't afford to rent, I can't afford to eat, I can't afford this and that. And the one thing I think that the shutdown has shown us, we have 42, they say we have 42 million people on the SNAP program. That's 1/8 of our population. 1/8, it's like 1/8 of our population. That's entirely too many people who are feeding off the taxpayer, and doing it generationally, right? If you separate, of course, the people who are just doing it temporarily, that's not the majority. And then we're finding out that a significant amount of those numbers, that 42 million, are illegal aliens, right? And you say, well, how do illegal aliens, get on there? Well, it's sanctuary cities. And the truth of the matter is, if you let people who are illegal, let's not talk about the hardened criminals. Let's just say you got 10 million people come in. So maybe some people are looking for a better life and all that shit, but they're illegal. They're not through the regular channels. They're just here illegal, which is illegal to come in our country without going through a port of entry. If once they're here, we actually do have to pay for them. They're going to get sick. They're going to, it costs, just being a citizen costs the country money. Even if we pay into the system, every one of us as an individual costs the country money, right? So the fact is that when they're here, we're not going to turn them away in the hospitals. We're not going to do all that kind of shit, right? They're going to fill their emergency rooms. They're going to need to get fed. They're going to need a place to stay and all of that shit. But where it comes and becomes nefarious, one, they're not supposed to be here. And so in order for us to minimize our costs, we got to get them out. And then the thing that's really demonic is that the people in the sanctuary cities flooded the poorest neighborhoods with all of these people. Chicago with that asshole Brandon Johnson, who's the worst black man I've ever seen in my lifetime, flooded all his black, I don't like to say black and brown. That's all bullshit. It's just, if you're black, you're just black. If you're brown, I don't know what the hell that really means. So the point is, if you're in the poor neighborhoods, he flooded the places with the illegal aliens. And whatever money that those people who are paying in taxes, they don't get no return on that investment whatsoever. What's not true, man? Yeah, just because they said this shit on on Hemp Show doesn't mean it's not true. It is true. It is true. They have a whole goddamn movement in Chicago talking about flipped Chicago red. So I know in New York City, not only did they flood the neighborhoods with the illegal aliens, they actually did put some up in 5-star hotels. And the hotel said, shit, I could make a killing by, kicking everybody out and putting out here. So you could miss me with all that bullshit, man. Just like in Denver, they put a lot of illegal aliens in those projects and they took them over by gunpoint. Took the ICE to get some of those guys out. So they ain't putting them in I remember a whole boatload of illegals landed in Martha's Vineyard. They got their asses out of there in the night. Too nice. They didn't spend no time there. So let's not go through revisionist history. So anyway, illegals cost money, and if they're illegal, they shouldn't be in our country. Period. And so I think ICE is doing what they're supposed to do. The fact is that we have states who are in open rebellion against the federal government, just like the slave states were. So California, Illinois, Massachusetts are in open rebellion against the federal government so they can maintain their illegal alien status. And I think those states should be punished for it, with withholding their money and all that kind of shit. So in 2026 is when the big, beautiful, ugly name bill starts to really go full force with the ICE agents. They have 200,000 applications for ICE agents that they're going to put at least 100,000 more of those guys on the street or some shit like that. And I'm all for it. If you're here legally as a legal immigrant, great. If you're, if you're out of compliance, you gotta watch out. It's as simple as that. Anyway, so yeah, they do. Yeah. And 30% of those people in their economy is illegal. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So they're going to have to go through an adjustment. So I agree with you. They got too many, and that's liberal policies. They're not supposed to have 30-40% of the population who are undocumented or illegals working in their thing. That undercuts American jobs. So anyway, what are you talking about, Nissa? What do you care about Argentina for? Anyway, so yeah, listen, I'm not for sending the $40 billion to Argentina. I don't like sending any money anywhere, right? I don't know what's behind that $40 billion. I don't think we should be funding Israel. I don't think we should be funding anybody. The problem with funding these countries, right? And they don't sit down and have, like us regular people, they don't sit down and tell us why they're fronting this money. They're buying loyalty, which is good or not. They're buying loyalty, and and that loyalty is shaky at best, right? So, but I wouldn't want to. Yeah, I don't think we should be spending our money on any of that shit. Not without some strings attached. Like if for Israel, for example, money we give Israel, when we speak to them as America, telling them, hey, listen, we want you to stop killing people, they should stop. Or the money should stop. Ukraine. Ukrainians hate black people. Do I really want to send money over there so they can continue to kill each other with Russians? No. So, I mean, listen, one of the things I think is a problem with people is that I think they, if you're either one side or the other, that's just not true. Trump is just a beneficiary of the Democrats and the liberals fucking up, right? Or else he would have never got elected. I would have voted for anybody over Kamala Harris. So the fact is, he just happened to be there. But his policies is something I can get with. And last week, I went through the reasons why I did that. So we don't have to rehash that today. So what's the next thing that I have a problem with? This Mamdani character and the fact that our country has gone to shit and starting to look like a communist country. Right, socialism, capitalist socialism. And let's just look at them. And you guys could tell me which one you'd rather live under. That's the point. I mean, what would you rather live under? Okay, do you want to live under a communist or a socialist society? Do you want Anissa, you own a house, you like wine, you probably like your autonomy, you're old enough. I don't know you, Black America, but you don't want to have somebody dictating whether you can own private property, do you? Let me
Don't forget to like and subscribe to support more simple and objective videos on topics that matter. In this video, I'll simply and briefly compare communism, socialism, and capitalism. Communism is an economic and political ideology that advocates for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally and private property is non-existent or severely diminished. Communism positions itself in opposition to liberal democracy and capitalism. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels developed and laid the groundwork for the theory and practice of communism.
Right, so this just for a second, right? So we're talking about, we got a class issue here, right? So communism said, let's remove class. That's, for example, those are two triangles there. And he says, you want to class the society? Well, that's a lie. You know, that's one of the biggest lies in communism. Do you think Putin is eating the same shit as his rank and file soldier he's sending to die in this war? You know, they got a proletariat, or whatever they call them, an oligarchy in communist oligarchy. They're all billionaires. But they have a class. It doesn't matter what kind of system you come up, there's always going to be a class. There's always going to be people who are favored over the rank and file. They're just going to have, you know, more Muppets on the end who can't get out of their lot in life because they're restricted. So would you rather have that than democracy, being able to vote? Whether you believe in voting or not, it does make a difference. We're living through it, right? You know, the last vote for Trump made a difference. The one for Biden made a difference. Unfortunately, he was asleep at the switch. And then capitalism, for whatever it's worth, they're going to get into it, but you can actually own your own means of production. You know, you can have private property. You can excel over your neighbor if you work smarter and harder. That's God-given, right? You know, so anyway, so let's let this go because this is a short video.
The former Soviet Union, China, and Cuba, among other nations, have had nominally communist governments. There's never actually been a purely communist state that has completely eliminated personal property, money, and class systems. Socialism is an economic and political system based on collective ownership of the means of production. All legal production and distribution decisions are made by the government in a socialist system. The government also determines all output and pricing levels and supplies its citizens with everything from food to healthcare. Socialist ideals include production for use rather than for profit, an equitable distribution of wealth and material resources among all people, no more competitive buying and selling in the market, and free access to goods and services. Capitalism, with its belief in private ownership and the goal to maximize profits, stands in contrast to socialism.
All right, so this is Mamdani, right? This is where he lives. This is some of his proposals, right? His collective ownership, right? Maybe that's the grocery stores. And I got a video on that too. It actually works in some spaces, but those spaces are limited, right? There's limited places for people to go other than those state-owned grocery stores, right? Take away the profit motive. You know, if you take away the profit motive, what does that do to the incentive for one person to do better than the next or to excel if you can't even benefit from it? This whole so-called that we should all split equally, well, it's not true. If you listen to some of the folks who talk about socialism and communism, they'll also have people who are a hierarchy. So there's got to be a person who herds the cats. The person who herds the cats is actually going to live better than the person, and the person herding the herders is going to live better than him. So there's always a hierarchy, right? So listen, but you can't. It should be based on your merit and your ability to elevate yourself, not on somebody who's presupposing what you deserve and what you don't.
But most capitalist economies today have some socialist aspects. Communism and socialism oppose capitalism, an economic system where private individuals and enterprises own the means of production and the right to profit from them. Capitalism depends on the enforcement of private property rights, which provide incentives for investment in and productive use of productive capital or goods, which are used in further production of wealth.
Let's talk about like the private property rights. We see some of that eroding in the blue states where it takes you forever to kick out a person either squatting or a person who comes in and refuses to pay rent. You can't just evict them. Some people you got to go through a whole year of bullshit before you get somebody out of your house. So even your right to property is not as it's not safe, right? Property taxes, I believe, it should be illegal. When you buy your house, you shouldn't have to pay property taxes for the rest of your life on the property that you own. And that if you miss a couple, people could take everything you put into a house because you missed a couple of property tax payments. So I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with capitalism. Some people say we should even have an IRS, but
Capitalism developed historically out of previous systems of feudalism and mercantilism in Europe, and dramatically expanded industrialization and the large-scale availability of mass-market consumer goods. Communism and socialism aim to right the wrongs of capitalism's free market system. These include worker exploitation and inequalities between rich and poor. What's your thoughts and
it doesn't work. And we have worldwide historical receipts that doesn't work. All right. So what else?
Did you know the Berlin Wall was?
This is just a little thing about Berlin. I probably won't play this. The fact is that when they built the Berlin Wall, or East and West Berlin, right? The real issue was that the people on the East wanted to keep the people in. That's why the wall was built, because they needed the chattel to exploit. And they couldn't let them all escape to freedom. So that was really the whole purpose of that one. So I think, and this is, I know all of us have people who've had cancer before, so I'm not trying to be insensitive. But Marxism, as it pervades over the United States, is like a cancer. It's at the antithesis of the way we live and the way we govern. And New York falling pretty much is like at stage 3, if you ask me. It's at stage 3. I mean, we can debate, you can read the other stages, but it's at stage 3. The cancer has spread. This is like a colon cancer situation. And I'm not a doctor. But if cancer reaches your lymph nodes and gets into your lymphatic system, you're pretty much on the hairy edge of collapse. Some people come back from it. A lot of people don't. If you get the treatment right and all that kind of stuff, and you never come back the same. Mamdani taking New York is like the cancer, not quite metastasized, but it has spread to a system that can permeate the rest of the United States. That's my thought about it. And I could talk about it some more, but anybody wants to debate that, that's where we are, right? So we're at that stage 3 where the cancer could spread. Well, in Minnesota, we dodged a bullet because that guy, Omar Fatah, who's a socialist, he lost to a mayor, a white mayor, who panders to the to the Somalian community. And, okay, so he learned a language so he could speak to them. But he also found out that Omar Fatah, who lost the mayoral election, still got 40-something% of the vote, where the white man in Minneapolis got 50%. That sounds like a lot. But to me, that's a pretty close vote in a place where it used to be literally white, because I used to go to Minnesota all the time. It turns out that Omar lost because he belongs to a different tribe than some of the Somalis up there. And that other tribe of clan of Somalis voted for the white mayor. And so when the white mayor was celebrating, he was celebrating with that other Somali tribe. And a lot of people didn't realize that, a lot of people look at blacks as a monolith or Africans. No, part of the issues in Somalia is because they got different clans. And each one of those clans are taking advantage of coming here to America, but they're not as unified in terms of leadership as we might think. And so that's what was going on in Minnesota. And that's why the white dude won, because one of the clans it seems like they didn't vote for the other Somali because he belonged to a different ethnic clan. And they say they might even primary Ilhan Omar because she belongs to the same clan that Omar Feta belongs to. Now, all these people have a underlying shred of socialism in them. So we have a double whammy of people who don't assimilate in the United States by coming here. They believe in their old ways. Some of that is probably good, but they're not. Their allegiance is not to America. And then they have socialist leanings on top of that. So this is how the cancer spreads, right? California is pretty much gone because it's a blue state. So all the blue states are pretty much on the hairy edge of socialism as it is. Everything goes. God is not a priority. Family is not a priority. Marriage is not a priority. Transgenderism is a priority. Gender affirming care or child mutilation is a priority. All these demonic things are priorities there. So I'm just saying that, with Mamdani winning New York and having a message to younger people that, you know what, the hell with the way we used to govern. I could promise you, anything you want, and we'll just make the rich pay for it because they should. Doesn't matter what they did to make that money in the first place. It should come back to the people. That inheritance should go away, and nobody should be able to inherit wealth. That should come back to the American people. And some of that has already been true. I think they might have got rid of the inheritance for a brief minute. They got rid of the inheritance tax. And then it came back. I think it was like 10-year, 5-year window. And then they brought it back. And this was a few years back. I can't remember what the term was. But it turns out that some of that wealth has to come back to the United States when a person dies. That's why estate planning is so important to billionaires. Well, okay, so what you're saying, Black America, wasn't it a woman he lost to? No, Fatah? No, he lost to the mayor, the incumbent. He was running for mayor. He lost to the incumbent. There's a man, white man, who did a horrible job when they had the Minnesota, the transvestite shot up and killed 2 kids in Minnesota. The mayor was just, he didn't really look too good to me or handling that situation. But he panders to the Somali community. I guess when there's 800,000 people in a group, I guess, if you want to stay in power, he learns Somali, whatever that language is, Arabic, and he speaks it pretty well. So anyway, so I'm just saying, I think that we need to be careful because with Mamdani taking New York, the cancer is spreading. The Marxist cancer is actually going to be able to spread. And here's a big thing I think we need to understand. They keep talking about a lot of people leaving New York. The problem with that is that everybody who lived in a blue state, when they start migrating to other places in the country, they take their politics and what they believe with them. So this is another way. It's the lymphatic node, right? It's another way that communism and socialism is going to spread, because as people leave these areas that have fallen apart because of the bad policies of the Democrats and the blue states and liberalism, and cashless bail and high crime and high taxes. When they move to these red states, they turn those states purple. They turn those states blue. And then the cycle begins again as they vote in assholes into office. So there you have it. So that's how this shit spreads. That's another way it spreads, because people flee saying they want a better life, but then they destroy the place they go because they vote the same way. They don't change their mindset. They just because they really don't see the connection. So that's how I see it. All right. So what's next? As I go through this, I don't believe. Oh, it's too much. I didn't mean to do that. Let me go. Marxism, right? I believe it's anti-God. I believe that it's anti-God. It's anti-family.
Socialist visions and policies are invading the United States. Marxism is anti-God. Karl Marx hated Christianity, which he saw as a source of oppression. To him, religion was the opium of the people. For communism to succeed, loyalty to the church had to be replaced by loyalty to the state. On one occasion, he described the church as medieval mildew that had to be scraped away. Marxism is incompatible with the free expression of religion. I don't think you can be a Christian socialist, a Christian Marxist. The things that are involved in these two understandings are totally opposite. They contradict each other. So Marxism is, first of all, anti-God. It's not atheistic. They believe in God. They just hate him. And they try to push him out. One of their little sayings was, we're going to rid the world of capitalists and rid heaven of God. Social.
All right. So whether you believe that or not, I do. I do. They want you to be beholden to the state. And that's it. I mean, if you think about it, the like liberalism is like the gateway to socialism, right? Because the liberals believe, especially the far left liberals, they believe that anything goes. They believe it's okay to mutilate children and call it gender affirming care. They believe that men, slinging a schlong, should be able to stick their dicks in women's faces in women's locker rooms and compete against them. They believe in that. They believe that a man could be woman of the year. I don't believe in any of that. A person is sick when they think of that. So they believe in a lot of stuff that is not godlike. Broken families, all that stuff, feminism, all of it. So that's my take on it. And I'm not a religious man, but I mean, some of the signs are just all over the place. So here's Candace.
When you study the ideas of socialism and Karl Marx behind it, the number one thing that he teaches and what the government understands is that you have to collapse the family unit. It must be destroyed. What stands between the government and absolute power is the family unit. And that makes sense to me as a Black person a lot because of what has been done to Black families since the establishment of welfarism. True statistic. Before LBJ and the Democrats and the Great Society Act, I always think, what happened to Black America? When I look at my grandfather's generation, they're all dressed well, the music was rich, talking about family, talking about love. People always tell me, you're not a part of Black culture. What Black culture do you think you're a part of, right? Because I was raised in a Black culture that was meaningful and was family oriented. When you study the idea.
All right, so that was a short clip. Again, there's a whole lot of stuff with the left leaning, feminism, all that stuff is anti-family, commercialism, anti-family. It's just really, so the door's wide open for these guys to flow right through. So let's get to a couple of big things that Mamdani said that got all people like, rah, free transportation. He's going to do something about the housing market. He's going to control government grocery stores, blah, 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 blah. So I just did a little bit of numbers here. And you can look up Google yourself and And so maybe some of these numbers are different. So I said, well, how many buses there are, right? Free buses. How many buses are on in routine, the average in the fleet in New York City? 5,900 buses. 5,900 buses. And it says the cost to operate them is $215 an hour. Now, that sounds low to me. But so I said, let's just go with the numbers, so how much does it cost per hour? Right? So yeah, 215 times, per hour, 5,900 buses, well, $1.27 million an hour to operate those buses. Well, how much does it cost a week? Well, there's 7 days in a week. Let's just say it's 12 hours a day. If you count the weekends, which is probably not as heavy, we just say, 12, 6 to 6, even though we know the buses run longer than that. So I'm trying to be conservative here. So we got 7 times 12 times 1.27. It costs $106 million a week to keep those buses running. Right? Right. And the cost to operate, I think, also, covered, I think, salaries and shit like that. And so why don't we just kind of figure out how much that shit costs every year? $5.5 billion a year. So Mamdani is telling the New Yorkers that we're going to give you free buses and we're going to pay $5.5 billion and we're not going to ask you to pay nothing in return. There's just a lie right there on the surface. Just no way that the New York would afford to do that. Right? Can afford to do that without people paying a fare. Because if they're waiting for the budget to just pay $5.5 billion to keep these buses running with no return other than people being happy because the buses are free, it's a lie. It's an absolute lie. The MTA brings in hundreds of, tens of billions of dollars, and they can't afford to keep shit running now. They can't. I think they have a big project. I think it's Grand Central Station or Penn Station. They want to redo it. Well, the federal government had to take over the job from them because they can't trust them to do it. So this is absolute madness. And so, but you tell a whole bunch of people in New York who, see the prices of the buses and the trains going up every year, and they're young and their money's tight. And so you can sit down here and you can, if you got the gift of gab, you can say a lot of bullshit and they'll believe it. They'll believe it. Nobody's going to say, well, how are you going to pay for that? And then when you have this exodus of the people you say you're going to tax who are going to leave, well, you're not going to be able to build a Berlin Wall to keep them in. Right? So the tax base is going to go down because, believe it or not, the rich in New York City pay 48% of the taxes. Right? People don't want to hear that. Rich people actually do pay taxes. They don't like it. They should probably pay more, but that's why they got all those loopholes. Anyway, so that's that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but I'm just telling you, just do some numbers and you just start to see that some of this shit is just pure bullshit. Okay, yeah, I got you. You got to come on camera. I just saw your thing. Hold on for a second. Maybe you can. It's in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't click. There you go. There you go. You got the link right there. It's not in the chat, but I'm going to put it in the chat too. You got the link back there. Anyway, so the buses, and then the next thing I have is the and I was going to play this link. I don't know if you're coming up or not, Black America. I'll let you get a chance to come up. But I want to play the next clip, and you could come up regardless. If you're in the back, I'll see you. The housing market, right? So here's, oh man, what's that thing at? There you go.
So whenever I try to
This guy has a great explanation of the housing market, you know, and you got to listen to it because he talks about supply and demand, but he has a great explanation for that, you know, and he does a really good job.
give someone an objective explanation on why Zoran Mamdani's policies around housing and the cost of living will likely make the crisis worse in New York City, I'm immediately met with people claiming that the laws of supply and demand don't pertain to housing. So I created some charts to explain in this video exactly how supply and demand works within the housing market, as well as in municipal economics. Markets are made up of price and quantity, and for there to be any market, there needs to be two sides of the market, the supply side and the demand side. The supply side in the housing market is made up of landlords and developers. And the supply side is greedy. It wants to be able to charge as much as possible for as many units as possible, so it has a positive relationship between price and quantity. The higher the price, the more quantity they're going to want to try to provide in the market. The demand side is made up of renters, and renters try to be as cheap as possible. They try to get as much as possible for as little as possible. So the demand curve has a negative relationship between price and quantity. The higher the price, the less they want it. The lower the price, the more demand there'll be for it. No one side gets to control prices within the market. It's where the two of them meet in the middle, which dictates market price. And the point at which they meet is called equilibrium. It's important to understand that supply and demand curves can shift based on external factors. A perfect example of this would be New York's real estate market during COVID. P1 represents what the average price of an apartment was in New York City prior to COVID. Then when COVID hit, the demand curve shifted in. There was significantly less demand for rental units, so prices were lowered. At the same time, so many people were moving out of the city, supply shifted to the right. There was suddenly a huge increase in supply, so prices lowered even more. And this is why the housing crisis is a supply side issue. So objectively, in order to decrease rent, you need to increase the supply. And a big part of increasing the supply is to take away regulations that make it incredibly hard and incredibly expensive to build more inventory in the city. But that takes a lot of hard work to do. But instead of doing the hard work required to shift the supply curve to the right and decrease prices, what Mamdani plans to do is artificially cap the price with rent freeze and extension of the rent stabilization policy. This splits the supply and demand side curves away from its equilibrium. This in turn reduces the supply of affordable housing while the demand maintains the same, and the split you get creates a shortage. What you very quickly see are two things: stunted inventory growth, there's no building of new units because it's no longer profitable to rent them, and a sharp increase in the price of rent for any non-rent controlled or rent stabilized unit. To simplify the problem even further, imagine that there's a building with 30 rent units in it, right? And 10 of them have their rent frozen. The operating expenses of that building still maintain the same. So in order to be able to run the building and meet overhead, you need to raise the rent on all the other units to subsidize the units that have a freeze on them. So at best, these policies create winners and losers, and at worst, they create only losers.
This guy, I mean, you know, that's a great little lesson in supply and demand. And this is what Mamdani is telling people. And in New York, everybody's desperate for cheap or affordable housing. But his solution is not the solution that's going to work, right? Because the truth of the matter is, no matter how he freezes things, he's not going to freeze the cost. His solution is that regardless if he freezes the rent, regardless of the increased cost to maintain these places or the increased cost of all that stuff, he says if you can't do your repairs, he's going to seize your property. That is straight up communist bullshit, man. Seize your property. You know, think about who's going to be developing in New York if he thinks he can freeze your rent, but you can't meet the demands of keeping that place up. And if you can't meet the demands because everything is frozen, you know, how are you going to, you know, like I said, how, you know, and then he'll seize your property if you can't. That's really crazy. You know, so tapping, you know, truth and purpose. Listen, I really would like to let you up, man, but I can't do it. You know, especially when we talk about political topics, man. We need to have people on camera. Just so you know, so nothing personal against you. I think I've seen you before. I just want to follow the rules, man. That's all. And that's it. But you know, put your whatever your thoughts, put them in the chat, man, or you know, just abbreviate them. I'll read them out. You know, whatever that is. If you're still here, same thing. You Black America, you have to come on if you wanted to come on too. Anyway, so that's my thought. That those are the three biggest things. I didn't look at the child care thing, but it's the same thing. The cost of child care for all the people who need child care, you can't make that free, or if you can, you still, everything that he says is free. He has to have some cogent plan to, you know, pay for it. Now, the last thing is, I do want to hit the grocery stores, right? And this is a good video on the grocery stores. So he wants to have government control grocery stores.
I think city-funded grocery stores are a good idea where they are needed. We have a small town. It was a necessity for us. I'm Keith Van Leeuwen. I'm mayor of St. Paul, Kansas. Population 650 people. The store is profitable. It is about 1 to 2% profitability a year. On the workforce, we have 2 full-time people and 13 to 15 part-timers.
St. Paul's Supermarket in St. Paul, Kansas stands out as a successful city-owned grocery store. Just 10 miles away, Erie Market offers a stark contrast, having closed its doors after several consecutive years of losses.
My name is Mayor Butch Klingenberg, Erie, Kansas. We are a town of about 960 to 1,000 in town. In 2020, we purchased the Erie Market grocery store in Erie, Kansas, and we had 1 profitable month. And then after that, we were bleeding. We made no profit. And this went on clear through 2024, and we had to lease it out. Lease it out or close it.
City-owned grocery stores are gaining significant attention lately, as Zohran Mamdani, the winner of the New York City Democratic mayoral primary, is proposing a network of these stores.
Municipal grocery stores, I proposed a pilot, 1 in each borough. That's 5 in total, at a total cost of $60 million, less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets at a cost of $140 million.
Many skeptics doubt that city-owned grocery stores could succeed in a big city like New York. CNBC visited 2 smaller cities in Kansas to find out how the model works and whether it could be replicated in larger cities. With a city-owned grocery store, the city funds and manages them. They are often located in public buildings and frequently staffed by municipal employees. Many of these stores also benefit from tax exemptions such as property taxes, which could help reduce overhead costs. St. Paul Supermarket is also able to reduce operational costs as it doesn't have to pay rent or property taxes.
The operating cost is about $500,000 a year. The couple that were running the store in 2013 were ready to retire, and the city decided they had to keep the store open, so they decided to purchase it and run it. In 2013, when the city took over, we really had to look at our inventory. We had to cut waste. There was things that sold better that we bring in. We did not have items that didn't sell, so we...
Okay, right there. Things that sold better or things, so variety is going to be an issue, right? And one of the things I think is in a city like New York, we have bodegas and you have a lot of grocery stores. It depends on the size of these so-called city stores, but they're going to have to be somewhat restrictive on what they can sell. And we got a lot of ethnic people in New York. Are their stores going to have rows and rows of different ethnic cuisine? You know, and how are they going to manage that when there's only a limited amount of people going to be buying that stuff? So the other thing is, if you don't offer some of the things that the average person wants, if they get into another store that has it, they're probably not going to do that much, store hopping. Some people do, but with the way times are, people just want to get it over with. They're going to just pick up the shit they need, and that's it. So in a big city like New York, at first he still didn't say where he's going to get the $60 million from. And he said if he's going to take it out of the high to replace the other subsidies, then what does those subsidies being missing from those other stores, what does that do? So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that he says, but again, it sounds good on paper, but we've seen 2 examples it's small towns where it doesn't even work.
Really cut a lot of items.
Or it works and doesn't.
Our store managers, they talk with our customers and everything. And if someone wants something brought in, they will bring it in if possible. Other than that, they stay with what's been selling through the store.
Had the city not intervened a decade ago, St. Paul risked becoming a food desert, an area with limited access to affordable, healthy food. St. Paul Supermarket is the only grocery store in the city. This local challenge reflects a broader national issue. An estimated 53.6 million Americans, or 17.4% of the population, live in low-income areas.
Listen, in the place where the only supermarket in the area is owned by the state or the city, I can see that working. It's the only place in the area. I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, you got to really be mismanaging for that not to work.
Where many residents are far from a grocery store, more than half a mile in urban areas and over 10 miles in rural areas.
City-run grocery stores are really an important concept. They step in to fill a healthy food access void. And instead of being accountable to shareholders, these grocery stores are first and foremost accountable to their.
Right. So here's the kind of person. I don't know her from Adam, but I hear her talk. This is the white liberal woman who is probably going to vote for anything that a guy like Mamdani could say. They're the ones who are at the forefront of letting socialism and everything else into our country, feminism, the whole 9 yards. Just hearing her voice. I could be wrong. I'm being prejudicial. But, you know, a lot of dangerous votes have been made by liberal white women. Let's go ahead. Let's continue.
Community, often trying to just reach break even, cover operating costs, and be able to pass on those savings to their customers.
I think city-funded grocery stores are a good idea where they are needed. Where you have a small town, it was a necessity for us.
Since these stores don't have to pay rent and are often tax incentivized, they may have a better chance of succeeding. Yet this advantage didn't help Erie Market in Kansas. Last year, the city had to lease its store to a private entity due to financial struggles.
Grocery stores, it's a business. Whether you own it or the city owns it, it doesn't matter. If you do not have them pay taxes, and we're zero tax on food now in our grocery stores, that still didn't help us. Zero rent doesn't help us. The city to lease it out was simple. City council, when they bought this store, they really didn't think about the fact that they're going to have to pay city wages, have to pay retirement, sick leave, maternity leave, so many things that...
Wait, listen, see, that's another reason. Yeah, he's going to get to it. How can you make a decision and you don't know how the basic shit of how you're going to keep this running? And the cost of base, how do you make a decision when you don't know all the costs? What kind of council are we talking about? Nobody on the council said, hey, shit, you know what? We got to pay some employees. And if we treat them like municipal employees, we got to give them the same benefits that all other municipal employees get. You guys didn't actually have that conversation? That's so stupid. Oh, my God. And that's where, and that's why they say local elections are the most important. Who you put on these councils, these boards, who make decisions down at the grass level, where it matters to the people in the area. Yeah, it's just crazy, man.
The municipalities have got, and just look at the shoplifting. You're going to have it. That's another loss. You can't do anything about it. You got to replace those groceries in order to sell them.
Other city-owned grocery stores have met the same fate as Erie Markets. Caney Grocery, located about 70 miles from Erie Market, hasn't been profitable, according to Mayor Josh Elliott, which is why the city is trying to sell it. In 2024, Baldwin Market in Baldwin, Florida, closed its doors due to low customer turnout, according to the Florida Times Union.
Municipalities aren't designed to run a grocery store. It's pretty obvious, folks, that if you're going to run a grocery store, that's what you need to be coming from, somebody that ran grocery stores. Cities don't know how to run grocery stores, period.
City-run grocery stores, it's a challenging enterprise. The grocery business is challenging. Grocery stores are already operating on tight profit margins, 2 to 3%. So even striving for break even will only pass along so much savings to consumers. And large corporate retail chains benefit from economies of scale that can be near impossible for these city-run grocery stores or individual grocers to achieve.
Consumers living in U.S. urban areas have been affected by the rise in grocery prices. Over the past 40 years, prices have tripled, putting a strain on household budgets. To put it another way, what $1 could buy in groceries in 1985 will cost more than $3 in 2025. Zohran Mamdani is advocating for city-owned grocery stores to make food more affordable, and the idea is gaining traction. A March 2025 survey of 854 likely New York City voters found that 2/3 support the creation of municipal grocery stores.
These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
However, critics of Mamdani, like John Catsimatidis, CEO of New York-based supermarket chain Gristedes and D'Agostino and supporter of President Trump, don't think it will work. Catsimatidis, who is threatening to close the chain if Mamdani is elected New York City mayor, says there are...
Yeah, I think when people say that, just do what you're going to do or just shut up. But let's just go back to Mamdani saying, again, there are some advantages in terms of the problem is that those monies that you save, those cost savings or cost avoidances, never come back to the people. Not in the way you think they do. Because these places are going to be operating on such a margin, those savings is just that. You're going to be competing against everybody else, and if you can operate cheaper, you may lower certain prices. But I would imagine we're only talking about pennies, which might matter to somebody, but we're not talking about trying to turn back the hands of time. You're not. So it'd be nice to say, well, what's the estimate from 1985? Is it going to be down to, you're going to make it cheaper by 1/3? So instead of being 3 times more expensive than it was in 85, it's only going to be twice as expensive. So those comparisons, how much percentages are you going to really save? And that's the key. Right. So I would imagine that just telling people that we're going to be able, this is what we're going to do, and the money's going to come back to you. That sounds good, but there's no real calculation in that. Right. There's no real calculation. Just like with the buses. He didn't say how he's going to find $5.5 billion a year to give us free buses. Well, I'm from New York originally, so every so often I say us. I'm not in New York now.
So many variables involved in running a grocery store in a city.
Almost every grocery store works on a profit margin of 1%, 2%. So everything else is the same. If everything else is the same, if you cut our rent, if you cut our electric costs, then we could sell for the same prices that Mr. Zohran wants to sell for. The only differential is if we're making 2% and he doesn't want to make it, that's not going to change the prices of the product. People are union workers. They deserve to work. They deserve to get paid. They deserve to be treated with respect. And Mr. Zohran, I don't think he knows anything about that. He has a great smile and a great gift of talking, but no clue about what the real world is all about.
Do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear, just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business.
So my man is really, really good. And, that's another thing that they put up against him a disgraced ex-governor, and I'll talk about that after this is over, but let's go ahead and finish a little bit more of this.
The population size of huge cities like New York could present an opportunity or a challenge. St. Paul Supermarket operates successfully in a town of fewer than 700 residents, while New York City boasts an estimated population of over 8.4 million.
I think the bigger city would have a lot more difficulty running the grocery store than our smaller community. Everyone knows everyone here. It's easier for us to get help. I think the bigger city would have more trouble running the grocery store.
There are some challenges that we have seen in the rural city-owned grocery stores. because of the small population and because of the more complex retail operations and supply chain in a rural area that the New York City run grocery stores would not have to face. So I think this is a really unique and exciting opportunity to be able to pilot a city run grocery store in a large city. And I think in many ways that could be easier and have more advantages to the rural model.
Some smaller local business owners also oppose the idea of city-owned groceries. Fernanda Mateo, spokesperson for United Bodegas of America, argues they can't match the prices of the proposed city-owned grocery stores and risk being pushed out of the market.
How are you going to try to come in and disrupt our livelihood? It's not going to happen.
The concern is that city-run grocery stores and being able to put healthy foods at affordable prices could threaten the existing businesses in New York City. And my hope would be that in creating a marketplace in which there are more affordable food prices, that other businesses could rise to the occasion and provide competitive prices as well. So I think it would be a shift to their business model, but hopefully to the benefit of consumers. And we've seen different independent retailers through cooperatives and other models coming together to collectively source food and beverages at lower prices to be able to then pass on those savings to their consumers. So hopefully in the long run could be, beneficial and streamline efficiencies for, I'd say, both consumers and local businesses.
Mamdani did not respond in time.
So you know what? So what she said, right, sounds like it makes sense. But if it made so much sense, why ain't they doing it now? Why aren't all these bodegas and all these guys collectively getting together so they could buy at the levels that to compete with these these free government-owned supermarkets? Because they can't. They won't get those same kind of prices. Probably can't get that same kind of cooperation from each other. So, because if it was so easy to do, they probably would be doing it. Like Korean markets or those kind of things, they have a Korean association. Right, so they're collective with each other by ethnicity and everything else, and so they'll get cheaper shit, and maybe Chinese people, not maybe Chinese people do the same thing. So all the bodegas are Spanish, a lot of them are, but they ain't they ain't close like that. I might be a Dominican, you might be a Puerto Rican, this other guy might be, whatever from South America, this other one might be Mexican. I don't think they're friends like that. I don't think they make those kind of, just like I said about the guys from Somalia, the two groups from Somalia, they don't even support each other. I guess it has to be like a common enemy for them to do that. But when they compete against each other, it's cutthroat. So it's easy for her to say, well, y'all get together and blah, blah, blah. Maybe y'all can compete with a government run thing that's not paying any taxes or not paying any, property tax or anything else. Yeah, come on. Only the big stores are going to be able to compete with these guys. But, it's an experiment. We got to see how it works.
To our request for an interview.
If he, we're done. If he can actually pull it off, right? So we already know about the buses and all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing. One of the things that the Democrats really pissed me off at is that they couldn't find another candidate to run against this guy other than a 67-year-old disgraced ex-governor. You know what I'm saying? This guy, he was accused of, fondling honeys, right? Well, he was never, convicted, but they made him step down, right? And I would imagine they made him step down because they said, if you don't step down, everything's coming out. And so he wanted to save his family name and all that shit, so he stepped down. That's the point. So I just think, and they couldn't find him. The old crusty, all these young people in New York looking at this crusty, dusty retread, and they said, hell with that. We're not voting for you. Now, and then he still, at the end, he still made it. I forgot, it was 1 million to something, right? It wasn't as far as it could have been. And then Curtis Sliwa, the same thing. Curtis Sliwa was 71 years old. I didn't know that he was that old, 71 years old. As a guardian angel, a conservative Republican, he knew he wasn't going to win. But you mean after all this time, being in the political backdrop of New York, you haven't tried to groom somebody to be a good candidate from the Republican side? With all the people all the young conservatives that you should know or have been grooming to help to run, who has the gift of gab, to be able to debate with Mamdani, and you think you're going to be the mayor? At 71, what the hell are you running for mayor for? Come on. He got 7% of the vote. He probably, if he didn't run, maybe the disgraced governor might have had a better chance, even though he was a Republican. Because some people will say, hey, listen, anything's better than having a communist run in New York City. But at the die is cast, he's in. He is absolutely in. So we'll see how that plays out. Right? So it's interesting. So again, how the cancer could spread. And so I'm gonna skip a couple of these things. This is the last link I'm gonna play. And this is from PragerU. And it's a little, what I'm saying is, I think this is kind of nice, self-explanatory.
Why does anyone still care about Marxism? Karl Marx has been dead for well over a century. Everywhere Marxism has been tried, it has left death and destruction in its wake. In fact, nothing in the last 1,000 years comes close to the amount of tyranny, terror, and mass murder brought about by Marxist regimes. Yet Marxism lives. It may present itself today as postmodernism, multiculturalism, feminism, environmentalism, or critical race theory. But it's still Marxism. So, there must be good reasons why it has endured, even flourished in the face of unremitting failure. Say what you will about Marx the economist. He was a master psychologist. He recognized that there are many people in every society who are motivated by envy and resentment. Marx speaks directly to them. He tells them that their responsibility for the misery in their lives belongs to the capitalist system. If we can just get rid of that, he promises, we can eliminate poverty, inequality, exploitation, class conflict, war, and alienation. Not a bad list if you're looking to start a revolution. But there's more. Marxism assures us that this socialist utopia is close at hand, available to all, not in some distant future or in the next life, but here and now. All we have to do is overcome one little obstacle: human nature.
There you go. Well, it's here and now because New York has fallen.
Marx expressed his deepest views on this subject in his economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844. They can be summed up in one phrase: the enemy of being is having. In other words, the desire to own things makes you a bad person. However, you're not to blame. The blame belongs to capitalism. The most common interpretation of Marx's philosophy suggests that he opposed capitalism because it creates an unjust world of inequality, exploitation, and class conflict. Marxism, according to this view, is all about equalizing income and social status.
See, this is what should frighten everybody. Because how do you equalize income and social status? Means that you have to be restrictive on people's income. That's number one. And then you dictate, somebody else is dictating your social status, right? If you're a doctor, your father's a doctor or a plumber, that's the best you're going to be able to do, right? I mean, how does that work? How do you jive these two? How do you balance these scales? Or if I'm a doctor and you're a doctor, but I'm summa cum laude and you just barely got a med school, we should be paid the same. I'm a plastic surgeon and you're, just a general practitioner, but since we're both doctors that, you're not going to, you're going to level the way we get paid. I mean, that's ridiculous.
This is true, but it doesn't go far enough. Marx saw the accumulation of material wealth as dehumanizing. The more money and material possessions one acquires, the more estranged one is from his true humanity. And what was that? In the philosopher's socialist paradise, one gets to eat, drink, and go to the theater free of charge and without having to earn a living. Best of all, you get to do it without the guilt of being a moocher. All you have to do is enjoy yourself. Or, as Marx put it, you can do one thing today and another tomorrow. Hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, and rear cattle in the evening. Yes, rear cattle in the evening. That's how in touch Marx was with reality. But who cleans out the sewers, does the dirty jobs that keep a society functioning? Ironically, in the evil capitalist society, the sewer cleaner freely chooses to take on his job. In the socialist paradise, coercion is almost always required. Marx never bothered with such messy details. He left that to others. Unfortunately, those others always turn out to be megalomaniacs, like Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Castro, Pol Pot, and Hugo Chavez. They were the ones who brought Marx to life and in the process caused tens of millions to suffer and die.
Well, let's stop it there. Right, everywhere. All of these guys, in order to make this come true, there's a lot of dead people because people just naturally rebelled against what the hell they were selling. And if they had control, like Mamdani has control of the police force now, right, as the mayor, right, he can get them because people want their jobs to do their bidding, even if it's unjust, in accordance to what we might, think is just. So I'm telling you, man, it's just bad.
Contrary to Marx's claims, work freely chosen brings both money and dignity. Furthermore, most people work best when they pursue their own self-interest, an idea Marx despised. To him, self-interest turns everyone into Ebenezer Scrooge, greedy, grasping, and unfeeling. Not only is money, that is capital, inherently corrupting, but the acquisition of it can't be done honestly or fairly. The rich got rich by exploiting the worker. For Marx, there's no other possible explanation. For many today, there is no other possible explanation.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. It's that the rich have gotten richer. Some of them have by exploiting their workers. And that gives, that actually opens the door to what Marx is saying. In a perfect system, it's just all meritocracy, but it's just not true. We know that, for example, that we can make money. I can make money. You can make money. We all can make money in the stock market. But we do know that people have been gaming the system, like people in Congress. Right in front of our faces, they have access to insider information and they use it. So that's cheating, right? So that gives rise to people with the philosophy that Marx has, right? We know that there are some unscrupulous landlords who can fix up buildings but don't want to spend that overhead if they're not being forced to. So yeah, is it on a grand scale? Most people who have made the effort to make money probably done it honestly, but it's when they fall off the rails, they open the door. California, they got billions of dollars to build a high-speed rail system. Billions. And they don't have anything done. None. So it's, these things put the capitalists in a bad light, right? So Doge comes on, people hate Musk and hate Trump and resent the fact that Trump is the one saying there's a lot of corruption, so I don't know, man. So, yeah, so I hear you, Mr. Prager.
For these people, Marx offers a philosophical justification for their anger, even their rage. From generation to generation, the formula never varies. Only by bringing the privileged down can the underprivileged be brought up. The venom that pours out of Marx's pen stems ultimately from the fact that reality wouldn't conform to his worldview. It never seems to have occurred to him that people are complex beings with different talents, ambitions, and desires. It may be more accurate to say he didn't care. If people wouldn't conform to his worldview voluntarily, then the state would just have to use other methods of persuasion, like murder and terror.
And that's true. That's true.
It all made sense to the philosopher as he toiled away in a corner of the British Museum or in his squalid London apartment. What is astonishing is that millions came to believe him. What is tragic is that millions more suffered and died because they did. What is scary is that millions continue to believe.
And that's the fall in New York City.
I'm Brad Thompson, professor of political science at Clemson University for Prager University.
All right, there you go. So this wasn't going to be a long one, man. I just say, like, listen, we all know that the die is cast. We have a failing political system, two-party system. And whether you want to be, I believe the conservative way is the best way, whether you want to be a Republican or not. I think being an independent thinker is the best thing you can do. I think the not hubris, but the acceptance of unfettered progressivism of the Democrats have left them open to the worst thing that could happen to the United States, and that's Marxism. AOC is a Marxist, for sure. Bernie Sanders is a Marxist. But he's the old guard, she's the new guard. And they got this guy hired or elected, and the election pretty much was fair and square. The people in New York said, hey, well, why not try this? Yeah, we've tried everything else, and we can't even live here. And so it's going to be an interesting 4 years while he defunds the police, and then he tries to put more social workers on the street to handle crime, because he says that most people who handle crime have some mental issues. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. You know what I'm saying? But they're also dangerous. You know, so I think he's going to get a whole bunch of people hurt when these so-called social experts go out and try to, tame the savage beast. It's just not going to happen. So we'll see with the grocery stores. If he gets $60 million, however he gets it, then we'll have to see how much Kathy Hochul is going to stand in the way. She's getting primary, or she's got some challenges for her seat in 2026. But let me tell you this. I don't think Mamdani is going to stay. Maybe he'll go to first term, but I think his next play is to try to become governor of New York State or something like that. His next play is to go higher. I think the plan really is for him to go as far as he can. Now, he can't be president because he wasn't born here, but he could do damage in New York. And but he's in for it, man. I've seen some stuff saying, these are really clickbait. He made a huge mistake. I see a lot of these titles, which I don't even click on them because I know it's bullcrap. He hasn't even started yet. So we'll see. And I wasn't going to be here that long. I know I didn't let anybody Liberty Twitcher. Thank you, Black America. I appreciate you being here. Tap, I couldn't get you up here because I had to follow the rules. Yeah, Liberty. Yeah. Well, you know what? But we're going to have a lot of volunteers in the United States to, believe it or not, I think there's a lot of people leaning socially because they like what's being said. Just the thought that we have 42 million people who freely accept and are very comfortable, not all of them, but a great deal of them are very comfortable living off the government, and they pass that down through generations, right? The shutdown showed us everything we need to know, that the SNAP system is also broken. That needs to be reduced. They need to get a fair amount of those people off of SNAP. So that's the next thing. But the problem with Trump is he shouldn't focus on some of these things. That's why, he still does need to focus on getting some prices down. But I really don't know what that really means. in terms of prices down, because every year the prices go up, right? I mean, I think every politician is lying when they say they could have some control on pricing because the cost of everything goes up. Now, I know the cost of gas is going down, but nobody's talking about that. Not really. So anyway. All right, Liberty, I don't know when I know you came up in the last minute, but I'm not going to be here much longer. I just wanted to say my piece. I don't know what I'm going to say next week. Maybe I'll come something that's not political. I've been the political wing, the political arm, especially with all the liberals over here on BMU's channel. Well, not liberals, but they ain't conservatives like me. But I just think that we're in for some interesting times, and it's the young people who really matter. And I think that we send them to these bastions of liberalism, and they don't come out with their heads thinking straight. Especially all the ones who got out of school based on merit. I mean, I talked to my daughters a little bit. I said, listen, nobody gave you guys shit. You guys are doing pretty well. It was me who set the environment for you, and your mother who set the environment for you guys to thrive in. It wasn't no school. It wasn't no liberal. It wasn't no Democrats. It was none of them. It was us, your mother and father, and we ain't no real flaming, liberals. Everything don't go. We can't feel sorry for everybody just because they don't have, not when you work for it. You can have empathy, but you can't have survivor's remorse. That's what you can't have. Hey man, so I don't know why the link didn't help you. Did you hit the link? I've never seen you, Black America. Did you hit the link? I sent the links out a couple of times. I can send it out one time if you want to pardon short. I'm gonna send it out right now. Are you looking at it? I'm surprised. I put it in the back chat as well. So I didn't see you come up at all. So if you got I got a couple minutes. I put it back in the front, the regular chat now. It's right there. If you can see it, click it. Now you might, but you got to be willing to come on camera though. That's the point. Yeah, I saw that message. So I did put it in the back. I put the link in the back chat too. So the link was there as well. So maybe you didn't see it. I don't know. That's why, listen, I'm here every, I don't know if you came up before. I don't know if I've seen the name before. I'm here every Monday. Yeah, that's fine. If you're in the trunk, that's fine. You can wave a little bit. I mean, I'll see. Just click it, man. Come on and say what you got to say. I'll wait for you. You might want, if you drop it, maybe you should pull over to the side too, man. We don't want you to hit, you're in any trouble there. Anyway, so again, I like these political conversations anyway, because I think that more of us, what Trump has done by energizing the whole government is that I think people should take advantage of what's going on, how the three branches of government work, and what governs all of them. From Title I to Title II and Title III, and how they all kind of mesh together. I think. Can you wave a little bit there, brother? Yeah, I see you. All right, man. Let me add you to the stage. What's going on? Yeah, I see. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I hear you just fine.
All right. What's going on, man?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
All right.
My uncle type brother.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm in my 50s, and I see why that younger person said he wanted the boomers to die.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
You old motherfuckers drive me crazy, bro. Y'all old brothers drive. You know what?
Tell me why.
Like, because it's like, let's say it's like the Sugar Hill game, right? These are the breaks, right? And like that music you play, that jazz. When I used to go with my dad to places, you know, like my Uncle Don, he was a jazz musician. I freaking hate jazz. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst music in the world, right? But I understand, like, you know, I know what it is. I know who Dizzy Gillespie is. I know Miles Davis. My uncle used to play with Miles Davis. We used to go to his house. Miles would be there. They have jam sessions. I understand all of that, but it's disgusting, right? To a Gen Xer like myself, right? And so the whole thing about it is you guys are so far removed from where things are now. It's like I've heard you speak about your daughters before, and I got kids too, right? So your kids and my kids, Mr. Payne, they're not going to be able to afford the shit that me and you have for them.
Right.
You know, so things. I'm a capitalist. I'm in the trucking industry. I got trucks, but things are not going to be there for our future people. So we are definitely going to have to change things.
Okay, wait a minute. Before you go further, so are you saying that because they might not be able to afford the life we have, that they should become communists, socialists?
I think social capitalism would be, because we're not going to say that it's like our society would fare better if we did do some things for the poor. But as a football player, you don't want to. I'm not going to start making the same amount as somebody that working at Walmart if I'm in the NFL. You see what I mean? And in this country, we have all of these things already set up. So an NBA player is not going to make the same as a garbage man.
All right.
You understand?
Okay,
So it's not going to go that far. But Mr. Payne,
well, before you go further, right? You say it's not going to. Well, what's the governor to make it not go that far? But go ahead and say what you're going to say. Well, and what does that have to do with my age, though, or your age, for that matter?
Well, it's because it's like if your daughter had a child, if your daughter had a child, right?
Yeah.
You could absolutely raise that child, but that child would miss something because it's not the bridge coming from you as a parent to your daughter being a parent to that child. It's a bridge in there. Your granddaughter who you raising would be listening to jazz.
No, no. I know jazz is a metaphor, but no, I just played that record because I had that on that setting. I like
but I'm saying
I know what you mean.
Right.
But let me say this. Yeah. What's it? But I would tell you that my daughters, I would look for them to be married so I wouldn't have to take on that burden before they had kids. That's the thing. That's how I train my daughters, right? They don't have no children, right? So they're playing for them. If they're going to have kids, they're going to have a man who's going to be covering them. That's what I taught.
I understand that 100%. I got kids ranging from 35 down to 8 years old.
Oh, you got a lot more than me. I only got 2.
Understand what you're saying. Go ahead and say that.
No, I said you kind of broke out. So listen, I played that record. It was in that tone, but I like all kinds of music. But the point is, I understand your metaphor. I believe the future is for young people, right? And I say that up here all the time. That's why I didn't get offended by the young guy telling me that shit. I don't try to force people to live like I live. What I don't like is young people acting like they can't move forward because of shit that happened in the past. I don't like that. And I get on people's case because a lot of people say, baby boomers fucked us up. I said, okay, but you're still here. At some point, you got to let that albatross go. What are you going to do? Just because your grandfather wasn't the great man or your father wasn't a great man? You can't, or Gen Xers were latchkey kids? That doesn't mean shit. Now, you're still here. What you going to do about the future? What are you going to do about this? Because if you're up and kicking and running with more information at your fingertips than I ever had at your age, what's your excuse? You can't just keep coming back. And the one thing that, so I know that there was some fucked up baby boomers. Took me a while to understand that. You know why? Because that wasn't my reality. Because I didn't, my kids are, I had my kids when I was a little older. I have a daughter that's a millennial. And the other one is a Gen Z. I think she's Gen Z. Yeah, Gen Z. So they're young. So I was old. I was 41 when my youngest daughter was born. So so my house was settled. I had rules. I had all that kind of shit. And I'm still married. Man, been married for 38 years. So all that kind of stuff. So so they have an infrastructure. So that's the one thing that baby boomers gave some of the young kids, whether they were fucked up or not. They had houses, they had marriages. The quality of those marriages varied, of course. But when the kids fucked up, those kids had a place to go. That's just not true now for these young people. That's why they should be more in line and not less in line. Because if you're a kid on a fifth in 2025, you're 15, 16, 20 years old, and your mother is a single mom, and her grandmother may have been one, where's the infrastructure? The support system's gone, right? So I just say, listen, we got to do better for the future. And I don't know if socialism is the way to go because it makes promises it can't keep. And capitalism is bad, not because it's bad on the surface, it's because people cheat. Right? Because
what do you mean by people cheat? What do you mean by people cheat?
Because the system is rigged a little bit, right? You and I can make you if
there you go.
The system is rigged. You got to admit that, right? The system is rigged. However,
right. So and that's why I'm saying we have to move. I'm sorry, Mr. Payne. I understand. I got a boat. My house is paid for too. And I done been with my broad over 30 years also. And all this, that, and the other. But the system is rigged against our younger people and how we got it and how we progress through life. Then it's not going to work for them now. It's like my problem with the pro-blacks. The pro-blacks is like, oh, we need to do for self, and you need to create your own business and do this and do that. Yeah. What business are you going to create? They already have airplanes. Walmart is the biggest employer besides the government. There is no other business, a hair and a lash, selling bundles and lashes, or having a plumbing company. You're not going to be able to create shit that's not already there and established.
Well,
it's stupid. It's stupid and idiotic to think.
I don't necessarily agree with what you just said, but I understand why you're saying it. I don't believe that. I think there's nothing new under the sun, but there's always room for something we haven't thought about. That's how we got to where we are now. We can't say in 2025 everything that's going to be invented has been invented. That's not true. That has not been true. That can't be true, or else we might as well just walk off the face of the earth right now.
I understand. That whole part.
Let me ask you another question, though. Let me ask you the real question. Again, I agree that our young kids may never be able to buy a house. They never, and not just our kids, Americans in general, right? If you're just working a 9 to 5 or you're just doing that, you'll probably never generate if the prices don't come down significantly, interest rates and stuff like that. And so I told my daughter that as well. I said, but right now, buying a house just for yourself or your family might not be the best move right now, right? Especially if you have all the costs associated with buying a house. So I said, my plan is the house that we have now and the land that we have is going to you guys, right? You know, so if home ownership is what you have, you got one in the bank, right? So that's it. So, but whether she could put $500,000, $600,000 down. So I have my own plan for my kids, you know, when they got out of college. I made them all come back home. Now, my daughters came back home and they stayed with me. They're 7 years apart. They stay with me and staying with me. I actually made them bank their money, get into the market, stock market, you know, understanding stocks and trading and all that kind of shit, dividends, capital gains, all that. Because I told them, I said, you're going to have to
handicapping your kids, Mr. Payne.
Handicapping them to do what? Tell me why they're handicapped.
You're handicapping your girls most of all because you are not, Mr. Payne, we all have a finite time, right? And our job as fathers, especially to our girls, is to get them to an adult age and keep them off the strip club.
Okay, so we did that. We did that.
And then to hand them over to another man for that man to take care of them so we can die peacefully.
Okay, so did you find the man for your girls or did they find?
They know when it comes to daddy, they know if they gonna bring and present a young man to me, I'm gonna put him through all the
where's the handy? Oh yeah, so would I. But where's the handicap at? They got to be ready for the world.
Yeah, but the handicap is I'm going to always be able to go back to daddy and lean on him.
No, how's that the handicap? How's that a handicap?
It's a handicap because you're not forcing them to try to change and start a new life.
No. Well, wait a minute.
I know you don't see it like that.
No. I'm answering your question because it's not that I'm saying you're wrong. Okay, because we got a different philosophy.
Right.
I could tell you a story about my oldest daughter, but I won't. When she got out of college, she didn't have a job. Right? She had to get a job. So I said, well, come back home. Your room is still here. But I didn't henpeck her. She went and found a job. And I wanted her to get a job in a profession. She said, let me just work at this place. She made that decision on her own. But I said, in the meantime, you know, she had loans she had to pay back. You know, it was easier for her to do that back in this house than out in the street.
Mr. Payne, was it that easy for you coming up, raising a family, and doing the things you needed to do? Was it that easy for you?
No, listen. I hear you, but I think so. Here's a part of philosophy that I don't agree. I think some people kick their kids out too early.
I understand that, but this is my whole thing. As a father, Mr. Payne, we give all of our kids the tools that they need to be successful. We give them the tools they need to be successful. What they do with said tools is then up to them at a certain point, stage, and frame in their life.
What age is that though? That's the point. You know, and you know, but listen, I don't disagree with what you said because my oldest daughter doesn't live with me. My oldest daughter doesn't live with me now. She's on her own. You know,
right.
But if you come out of school and you don't have a job, but I'm gonna say go find a roommate and go rough it out there and grow up a little bit, blah blah blah. I mean, it depends on how you view your kids. Right, I didn't think stunting my kids' growth by giving her an opportunity to go out with some bank when she leaves here. And she had a boyfriend at the time too for a while, a couple of years, just didn't work out. I thought it would be better for her to get her shit together, get debt free, and then go out there on her own. That's exactly what she did. I got the plan for the youngest one too. But in the meantime, why put them through all that stress, especially when we know the dollar ain't running that fast, ain't going that far. And here's another thing, brother. I'm gonna tell you, coming back home to my crib is different than you putting them chicks out in the street on their own, in their own crib. Because that, you know, women need guidance from somebody. If she was leaving my house to go to another man that she was married to or getting married, I'm with you. But putting them out there in their 20s in this environment, I'd rather do it my way. And now she's out there, she's growing more. Whatever she does is on her own because she's like in 30. But the point really is, I hear you, because you can look at it both ways. I just think she's more ready for the world now. If she doesn't find that right guy, if she doesn't, because these days only 1/4 of our girls are getting married. You know, so they got to pick her. You know, thank God she looks like her mother. You know, so she got a shot. But you know, so there you go. So there you go. Both of them, they got a shot. They got their nice 4C hair, man. They got nice hair. But they're doing well. But I understand what you're saying. So I don't take any offense to that. But I don't think they're hamstrung. I think they're more ready for the world. I gave them an opportunity after they got their schooling together to get their shit together before I put them out there in the street. Now, if I had sons, we wouldn't be having this argument. Get your ass out there and make it happen. You know? If I had sons, I'm different with my son, right? Like I said, my oldest girl wanted to go. She had a full scholarship to go to the University of Buffalo. She cried like a baby. She wanted to go to another school. I didn't get no money for that school. But I sent her there because that school was 20 miles away. You know, and I thought after a while, I said, you know what? I can reach out and grab it if I needed to. But the fact is, if I had a son, there's no way I wouldn't have sent his ass to that school with the scholarship. Get your ass up there, you know, because with your girls, you want to be able to reach out and grab them when you can. That's how I look at it. That's how, because until she gets her own man, I'm the guy covering her.
And that's what I'm saying. So my daughters.
How many daughters you got?
7.
Whoa, so shit. Okay, there you go. You tell me you got 7 daughters?
Yeah, so and 4 of them are married, right?
There you go.
Only one of them lives at home, but she's 8 years old. That's my baby.
Oh, okay.
Right? And the other 2, they live together. Get the fuck out. You gotta start living your life and being responsible for yourself. And I've already gave you all of the training that you need to be a wife. Now, when you meet a guy, you bring him over to me so I can see if he is worth it. And like I said, I got 4 great new sons, and some of them get along with my sons, some of them don't. But just like I explained to them at the 4th of July party, hey, you guys, y'all either gonna ride together and die together, bad boys for life, or y'all gonna be fighting all the time. So y'all figure it out. Y'all figure it out.
How many sons you got?
9.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
Mr. Payne, I was a back in the day, bro. I used, you know, so
Get out of here, dude.
But you know, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, that was the lifestyle back then. For people.
I'm hearing you. You still on
people like me.
Man, so you got a trucking company, you own the whole company, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
And just like my kids had a good life, they don't want to nobody wants to do this trucking. You know what I mean? So, you know, they all had a choice, college or military. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I'm not going to be here, you know, I'm not going to be here to hold you up and protect you and coddle you. I've done my job. I've done my time. You know, when I get older, I want to pass away peacefully. I don't want to have to be worried. I've done my job. I just want to die. You know what I mean? Yeah, your mama got a house. You don't got a house. You know what I mean?
Right.
You guys aren't getting shit when I die. because I've seen you, and you've seen it too, Mr. Payne. You've seen your contemporaries as soon as the mother died, the silent generation. You seen as soon as they pass away, they don't do nothing but sell the house and pilferage all of the stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of that went on. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you my shit. You're gonna have to get out the mud, figure it out. You know, so
I mean, you got a point. You do have a point, but you have a whole lot more experience to have the point that you have. You know, with all those goddamn man, that's
the family.
You got that family going.
Huh?
I said you got that family going there, man. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see the philosophy that you have.
Yeah,
you know?
But it destroys the camaraderie of the family and the children. It was like when my grandmother passed away, my dad had to go to the house and sit on the porch with the shotgun because of all of my uncles and aunts trying to come in and take shit out the house.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, no, you guys not taking stuff out of my house. You know? But I've seen that, and I've seen that so many times. And it's not just black families. I've seen it in white families also.
Oh yeah. I mean, money changes everybody, man. So you got a channel or anything like that, or what you got going on there? You just popping in?
No, not yet. I'm working on it, Mr. Payne. But my channel is going to. You know, like I say, I'm with everybody. I'll be over on Fatties. I'll be over.
Okay.
You know, I go over on Elks, HQ, crazy ass.
Fatty's something else, man. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I haven't been over there in a while.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go an entirely different direction because we've been talking about these same conversations
for a long time.
Right. And now it's time to show the actual other side of the coin, the actual hurt and the despair. Instead of just can you hear me?
No, you went out a little bit. It wasn't, but go ahead. I hear you now.
Yeah. Instead of just the dick and pussy conversations, you know, we want. I want to kind of turn it so everybody can see something different. You know, it'd be a different side. So it'll probably be right around the first of the year. But I think it was one more thing I had disagreed with. I said, you making me sound like a damn Democrat.
There you go. It's the shoe fits, man.
Yeah, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah, me either. I'm an independent. I was a Democrat though for years.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you want out of society.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the older you get, the more conservative you get.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
But Mr. Payne, we no longer, for instance, I got 4 girls that are married, right?
Man, congratulations.
And both of your daughters are. And just like you said, only 25 to 30% of our young ladies are going to get married. We don't have communities anymore,
right,
Mr. Payne.
That's right.
So the dynamic now has to change because we no longer have communities. The dynamic of what's happening in America, well, Black America, is going to have to change.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I agree.
And this conservatism, it is not going to work wholeheartedly for us as a people, or as
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. Look, liberalism hasn't worked for us at all. Our whole community is destroyed because of liberalism.
Well, our whole community is destroyed because of matriarchy. not liberal.
Well, liberalism, man. Matriarchy is a liberalism concept, man. It's liberal. You know,
Well,
they're feminists, they're liberals, and the matriarchy became there because of FDR and all that shit, man. We abdicated when they kicked the man out of the house. They necessarily became matriarchy.
I understand that, but a conservatism is not going to bring it back.
Well,
It's Pandora's box. Once you let these hens out of the roof, out of their pens, they not going to come back unless
I agree with
everything
that.
get really bad.
I listen. I agree with you there. But there is a rise, especially when we talk about Black women. There is a rise of Black women who have conservative values, right?
No.
So whether that's, so nothing has to be strict. Some things are fluid. But what I'm saying is, no way we could bring back any part of the family unless there's a conservative side that says, I want to be in a covenant relationship with somebody. That's not a liberal concept.
And that's why everything has to fall straight on its face. This shutdown, they need to shut them off completely forever. No more food stamps. No,
Okay.
no more child support if you have a kid. If you can't afford the kid, give the kid to the father.
That's
All of
right.
these things, it's lots of things that need to be implemented for these women, our women. Like I say, I don't care about the white people. For our women as Black women to come back to the table.
I agree with you, but that's got to be. I hear you. It can't be like the conservative that we see here on the news, but it's a conservative value structure you're talking about, because that's the stuff that had social mores, you had shame, you had all those things used to be conservative values.
No. So I wouldn't say that they're conservative. It'd be like I'm Christian, and you don't like, and I suppose you're Christian too. You don't like this Muslim guy that just got hired in New York, right? So,
not because he's a Muslim.
well, and you say that, but we have bias, Mr. Payne. You and I grew up not liking Jews. We have a bias. We have to be a.
Yeah,
we have to be
able with that. I agree with that.
Yes. So we have a bias, and we have to be able to accept our bias. We don't like Jews. We never have in our community. We don't like Muslims. We hate guys from the Middle East that own the corner stores in our neighborhoods, and Chinese people that own all of the liquor stores on every corner in the LA neighborhoods. We don't like these people. We have a bias. The problem is people don't want to say, well, it's not racism because we have no power to enforce over them.
Well, that's not true either. But you could be racist and have no power too. You know?
I mean,
I hear what you're saying, but I tell you what, I have Muslims in my family.
Yeah, but most of them are probably Nation of Islam.
One is a couple of them are not Nation of Islam Muslim. They were born that way. They were born into the faith. It was a Nation of Islam. But here's the thing. I don't, when I see Mamdani, his problem with my problem with him is not that he's a Muslim, it's that he's a goddamn social commie.
I mean, that's probably what we need right now in this country.
I tell you what, we don't. It doesn't work anywhere.
This capitalism. Have you ever looked up Universe 25?
You talk about the not universe? Is it 2025? That document that was out there?
No.
Universe?
Universe.
No, I haven't.
No. It's Universe 25 experiment. It's an experiment that they tested over and over again, and it always comes out the same. Everything collapses, right? And it's the same thing with the Romans, with the Mayans. As soon as all of this liberalism, as you say, the homosexuality and the transvestites and all of that stuff, as soon as that starts to be an important part of our civilization,
Okay.
we implode. We implode.
Okay.
We need a change. And this is going to be the change that we need. And then there's always an overcorrection, right? It's like Obama was president, and then they went to Trump, and now everybody hated Trump. Nobody voted for Joe Biden because they liked Joe Biden and thought that he would do a good job. They voted for Joe Biden because they knew that he was nothing like Trump. Hell, look at it. 9-10 months later, it seems like Trump has been president for 3-4 years already. It's stressful. It's stressful. It's every day is some different shit with this guy. You know,
every day is, well, it depends on it depends on how you look at it. I think that every day is different shit because the media keeps throwing it out there. And he'll say something and they'll make it, I'm on a third term, and they make it into a news cycle. And when he's just trolling, I mean,
but Mr. Payne,
yeah.
I love this country, live, kill, and die for this country. That's not, and I got 4 children in the military. Mr. Payne, that's not okay to say. I'm sorry. For me,
what's not okay to say?
That you're running for a third term.
Oh man, come on, man! Because he's the president, he can't have a sense of humor. When they ask him that question,
no, Mr. Payne, you know, like I know, they ate Obama up for wearing a tan fucking suit.
Yeah,
yeah, but you cannot have a sense of humor and be the person that we all know him to be. You can't have a sense of humor in that job, bro. I don't know.
I hear you, but I think people go, like, for example, the ICE agents trying to get rid of all these illegal aliens. The reason why we got all this consternation is because we got states in open rebellion against the federal government.
Yeah, but once again, California has the largest economy with the most Mexicans. Why don't you look at it like this? Hey, maybe we need more fucking Mexicans in every other state.
That's not why they have the largest economy, because of the Mexicans.
Oh my God, Mr. Payne, they are a donor state. They are a donor state.
First of all, there's a lot of businesses were there that left. They have the best, the weather brings a lot of people. They got more people there, more representation than everybody else. And the goddamn place is a failed state, almost.
How is it a failed state?
Oakland is underwater. Just do some research on some of those little cities that everybody thinks is doing well. They're not. LA is a show. Did you just see what happened with the fire?
Mr. Payne, I am a truck driver.
Yes.
I am in California every day. I am driving back from California right now, Mr. Payne.
Okay, so I've been to California a lot, but I know you see a lot of beautiful things out there. I understand.
I'm from LA, actually. I live in Las Vegas. It's just like when people says Las Vegas is dead. Nobody's in Las Vegas. Mr. Payne, Las Vegas is busy as hell.
Oh, I hear you. I want to go. I'm planning on going next year.
Okay. It's going to slow down next month, but it always slows down during Christmas break.
Yes, I understand. I hear what you're saying, but what are you saying about California? They got more homeless people out there. I mean, they got problems. And they got Gavin Newsom's an asshole.
Mr. Payne, what state are you in?
I'm in New Jersey. And
You're in New Jersey.
That's right. New Jersey ain't like California.
Yes, New Jersey is not like California.
And it's expensive as hell out here, too.
Exactly. And California has 39 million people in California. Almost 40 million. How many people are in New Jersey? 15?
If that. It's probably not even that much.
Exactly. So everywhere's going to have homeless.
No, man, that's not an excuse. They put billions of dollars to do something about it. It's getting worse. They're spending
Mr.
money
Payne,
on that.
Mr.
I
Payne.
mean, okay, hold
When
on. I don't want to go
we
to the
grew up,
California is a
I'm not-
great place for the people that
no,
are great
when
for.
we were young, our fathers and uncles used to point out the winos in front of the liquor stores to us, right?
We seen them. Yes, they had winos. I mean, they
Mr.
have,
Payne,
yeah.
nothing's changed. Nothing's changed, Mr. Payne.
Or it got worse. Or
Well,
got
because
worse.
it's more people and more drugs.
So
Well,
what
I'm
you're saying,
hey,
okay, so what you're saying is just your change and your solution might not even help that because there's going to be more people and it's going to be more drugs. Listen, unless you're one of those kind of guys who don't like Trump blowing up the boats, coming here with new drugs. You know
oh,
what I
I
mean?
don't care about that. I think listen, I went to prison under the 94 crime bill.
Oh,
And
that's
and
fine.
I and I don't blame Biden at all for that because in LA we were killing each other.
Crazy.
We were killing each other by the second, right? I don't care if they didn't do the 94 crime bill, there wouldn't have been a black community, right? It wouldn't have because us LA gangbangers exported gangbanging all over the country, right?
Yes.
All of these people down south and all of that shit. It wasn't no
doing the crip walk now.
right,
Yeah.
right. It wasn't no Bloods and Crips out there until we started branching out and going all to those places. So so everybody want to blame Biden for that. Biden saved our community.
Oh man.
He had, Mr. Payne.
Listen, that's another way of looking at it. I can think. I
Mr.
hear where you're coming from, man. I do.
Mr. Payne, I heard you say you from New York. New York was nothing like LA when it came to gang banging.
No, our gangs were a lot different than I was up there. There was nothing, black.
And I love and I love the Warriors. I love the Warriors movie, right?
Yeah.
But I know that gang banging in LA was not like because I went all over and I did bad things all over the country. So I went to every state exporting people.
You ain't gonna get no argument from me. I know the gangs in New York when I was in the Bronx was nothing like the Crips and the Bloods, man. Nothing like that.
Right. So I'm saying if that hadn't happened and people started getting some real time behind, now I got blessed. I didn't do life, and unless you really like killed somebody, I was just a D boy. Most people wasn't killing people, but it was a lot of hell. My brother got killed 10 days after his 21st birthday. You know what I mean? So it was bad in the 80s and lots of my cousins did and my brother. That's how we ended up in Vegas. So what I'm saying is with those things, people are looking at him blowing up them boats in the middle of the ocean. I don't care about that. That's just one less person. My little brother's a firefighter now. I was a firefighter in the 90s. That's one less person that I have to worry about my brother going out and giving a Narcan shot to, and that person waking up and stabbing him in the chest. But I'm gonna go ahead and hop off, Mr. Payne. I know I done kept you too long, brother.
I appreciate the conversation, man. Next time, I'm here every Monday at 7 Eastern. So anytime you come up, we have different topics, man. We come up and we kick it, man, because we're gonna have to get back a little bit on your conversation about what you think the best philosophy of the future is, and I'll listen because right now we need something, right? And I don't think Mamdani is it, but
well, this is the whole thing about it. We have tried Democrats and Republicans. We have tried this shit so long. Mr. Payne, it's not either way. It's not working for. I've been in war under Bush. Either way is not working for our community. Neither way is. So we need a different look. Oh, well, let's look at this and see how this works. And if it doesn't work, guess what? He only got 2 to 4 years, and then it'll be somebody else to come in and change. But we need to get a different look at different things.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. All
Okay.
right, man. Thanks for coming up, bro.
All right, Mr. Payne. I'll holler at you, good brother.
All right.
Bye.
Take it easy. Man, with that, we're gonna say good night, man. It was good, man. Glad somebody came up. We had a conversation about everything, and I know way past due, but hey, our pain. I was gonna say marriage, politics, and sports, but hey, Mr. Boomer, over and out. Good night.